Connections of square roots through square pi is direct lines of calculations, how we go through three body forms into one frame. That's how we mass everything in set positions. But the truth in how this all works is all position location systems and calculations. Everything is going to get a lot more complicated now because you're not identifying your voice lines and how to set up a grid line communication like metaphor, so you see it yourself, and triangulation lines can send anything line position of split lines of anomaly. We have to understand the provision lines, how we come into the inner circuits, the outer circuits, the outer set line communications, the circuit locations, the inner charge, the outer charge, the audio charge. Everything has an input, output, and audio put. Now, what we have to start identifying is how to use our voicing patterns. Let's get in position lines as set lines of travel and directions. Okay, so it makes a lot more sense where you're going to three body forms and mind alteration settings into costumes of stories that you're creating through modification. And the more you identify your body framing, it's understanding communications. Foundations of one, that process you in subtraction, that's you in observation of everything that you see information, right? Puts all communications in three centers, you in the foundation, you in position, you in activation, you in travel. But you're always in the position, you're always in the center operation of everything you see. It's at travel. Okay, so have a direct line settings, process communication setting to travel. Three convergent systems of body form, and set travel communications, which is calculated to modify online signals and location. Okay, all right, so this is you in observation, observing everything in travel. Connecting this form and connecting to that form in set position, right? Center position, center travels, and track correlations. Okay, so three images zoom in one, platitude line screen adaptations of travel in set position. In track course centers, indirect line communication setting, and travel. Okay, so you have to modify three signal lines of grounds in one center of the surface location system and conversion. It's at travel. Okay, connecting to the grounds, and the grounds, the powers, and the atmospheres, in three traction locations. Grounds, powers, atmospheres, and set positions. All right. Now converting that position location puts everything all together. Understanding that position location is to understand the grounds of you, the grounds of center, and the grounds of set position of operation. It says communication lines, it's different earths, three set lines of earth and three centers in one travel. Three of everything in set positions. I see lines of circulation, and set travel. It says communication rotations and set travel all at once. One rotation, three centers of travel. One volume masses everything. Correlation system, all through sending, all through calculations. Inside tractions. So that's three body ones and set lines and set positions that you have to identify yourself. Through the connection setting, how you see yourself through your higher self, your avatar is sim. Process in that position locations, how do you see your voice line patterns and travel in that communication setting of surface. Sets communication system in that settings into letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. All right, all through convergent settings. So it really gets more interesting now because three lines of settings, three line division, three boxes in one. Okay, you're seeing three boxes, but see, the thing is, you are the intel center of everything that you put yourself in set position. So you are the center. This is you through the flux. This is you through the flux. This is you through the flux of center, which is your intel, right? But this is the foundations of you. This is the center operations of you. This is the highline conditions, the atmospheres of you, right? How to process that. Three body forms equals lines of 0. Three body forms equals lines of 0, 1. Three body forms equals lines of 0, 2. Set travel. And that communication system and convergence. Set calculation lines, set position operation line settings, 0, 0, 0.3, and set tractions. And convergence system of three body forms in one. So once you identify yourself, it's much easier to come into that position. So that's going to TRY. Okay, let's break that down in coding. Three signals and grounds, set tractions, right? So T is the metaphysical body, R is the avatar body, okay? And the Y is the symbiote body, right? So it's 4 convergence of 1 into set positions. So 4 equals lines of 1, process lines equals 5 elements. And set lines of travel, and set communication systems, all through tractions, right? Directing lines of box frames, Triangulation line, condition setting, voicing pattern, signature lines of ground, communication of surface and travel. Platforms over lines and direct lines of ground communication. Right? So it's much easier to understand that. So when you're breaking these things down, your voicing pattern is picking up frequency. And this is where it comes in the alpha wave into the beta, or it positions alpha beta equals C over lines over B equals over C, C lines of D, D equals lines of E equals lines of F, process lines of question. Okay? So what you have to understand is A, B, and C, okay, is a bracket communication. Now remember, you can use anything your mind imagination system, but you have to truly understand what A is, what B is, and what C is. So you're always working with the grounds, you're always working with the powers, and you're always working with the atmospheres at A, B, and C. That's a triangulation flux in positional line centers of process communications to a 60,000. 3 configuration of bodies into 1. All right, so you're always working with position of metaphysical, the avatar, and position line settings into the position of the symbiote, 3 line circuits into 1. Now that puts lines of innerput, outerput, and audio. Without that, you can't turn on a video. You can't hear your voice, or just so you need audio. But you need inner circuit, outer circuit, and audio circuit. 3 platforms and settings, 4 set lines of sequence locations, and set travel. There's your pyramid. 3 body forms of 1, 2, and 3 settings of travel. Panels operation 2 fluctors, core centers and flux over line, 3 body formation setting, and 3 pyramids of travel. So everything comes in 3. Okay, in positions. Now it's going to get more complicated now because you have to understand the body that you're in through voicing pattern. Pattern recognition settings in platforms over lines has a direct line link. Say, pattern recognition. All right, so that's direct location settings. That's where it gets really interesting. So we'll go through 0, 1, process lines of 0, 4, set position of 0, 2, process lines of 0, 3, and position lines of 0, 6, and set position lines of beta equals lines, set correlates set position of 0. Okay, also configures setting and travel. But if you look really close, you can see set position of 3 core centers and calculation of 3 configures setting and faces, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, set lines of travel, direct lines of 1, process lines of 2, process lines of 3, and face recognition. Okay. So once we understand how to use the 0, 1 interaction, it gets much easier how to communicate with our voice line pattern, which body we're communicating with. There you're connecting your metaphysical lines of 13 grounds. I process line position of 14 line connection setting through the avatar line sequence. I process 1 symbiote, connecting lines of earth rotation server and location system all through traction. Okay, very fast, very easy inline communications. So converting that, it gets a lot more complicated because now you're in position of A, B, and C. Set position here, set positions here, and set positions here, crossing angles. So in your conversion system, understand your tones, your wavings, your screen adaptations of flux. Okay, indicate lines of A, set position of the lines of D, set chord centers of F, set lines of 0, process lines of 2. Okay, it's all in configuration system at balance, guys. How to use that information system all through tractions, all through calculations. So I'm just showing you on the basic grounds how you get in your voice line pattern, know exactly which voice you're communicating with your seconds and positions, just with 3 line communications of letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. Shapes is complicated because there's 3 triangulation of flux. Okay, you can start with your body lines of 1, body lines of 2, and body lines of 3. Okay, so you know the body 3 is the symbiote, you know body 2 is the avatar, and you know body 1 is the dimensional being of light. Okay, but see how they connect together in all formation system of grounds that communicate setting and flux over screen into yin and yang. Process that communication system off the travel, right? So that's 3 signature lines of grounds and line position, location, measure, and scale. Now that communicates the setting in position of 1, 2, and 3 online cycles. 1, 2, and 3, 3 eyes in 1. Seeing the convergent system going this way, seeing the conversions going this way, and seeing the conversions going this way in traction. Okay, it's a lot of confusion, but what you're looking at is a process calculation setting to your pyramid in set position. Okay, creating in the grounds, powers, and atmospheres of 3. Then you process the 4 centers as set lines of sequence, 5 line centers, circle location system, all through travel, all through correlation setting, clock and communication, all through direction, right? So you're constantly working with 3 body frames into 1 frame, right? Processing that is 1 volume, 1 mass, 1 velocity, 1 acceleration system, right? So V, 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 V. So we got volume, mass, velocity, vacuum, right? There's 4, right? But your convergence system is set lines of travels, 4 lines of sequence equals lines of fifth element. Sets, of course, centers of 4 on standby, directing lines of set position of 3, sets communication lines of 7 over triangulation. Process indicate line height interference. You take line connect setting, mass, velocity, and vacuum, 3 centers of signal, right? So that's 3 wire signature lines into your body 1, body 2 in the center, and body 3. That's attractions, right? The body 3 is always in outer space. It's the outer spectrum. It's the outer rim. It's the outer line. It's the outer link. It's the outer communication. It's out of sync. It's out of mind, out of position, and formation setting, right? In that positions. So understanding that's why we go in body 1 frame equals frame centers, and we position the foundation grounds, and then we go into body 2, right? Which is set course centers into 14 flux and positions, and then you can go in positions, you can go lower grounds, which is 13 measured, which is your human resonance. Okay, so that's your higher self. Set line of communication setting, body 1 lines, metaphysical lines, at grounds of its earth and travel. And position of body 2, which is your avatar frequency lines of setting, and operation line centers, a center operation system, process your calculation setting, and part acceleration setting in space and time. So I'm just trying to get you guys to understand how you 3 wire signatures in 1 frame, right? Bring it in this way, and you look at it up close in that position. You see it in this set positions. So it's got 3 wires of indication inside travel in set position. It's cloak and dagger, its security, and its outer space. And it's wrapped in as set lines of communication to a coil. Wraps around the system lines of travel in directions and locations. Okay? And the avatar travels through it, right? So everything is a wire signatures of 3 settings, a 3 vector communication system, all through set contract location. Each finger is its own set position of its own past, present, future. Past, present, future, 3 body frames, 3 frequencies, 3 grounds, 3 servers, 3 powers, 3 lines, 3 voice line grids, all at once in set positions. That's just 1 finger in rotation. Because they're different levels of space. Baby, child, teenager, adult, right? Now, how you direct the line's position of the thumb or location set to the sun line sequence, process indication set at all levels of projection. Line collaboration settings, all through travel, all through directions, all through locations. Okay? But your test is all based on what you already know in sequence. We get in this position locations. That's how I want you to set up your position lines, your Earth. Okay? That's your test on Friday. All right, so once we get in that grid line, then we just stand across line screen lines, adaptations of flux under fortitude setting, location, system, and travel. So I just stand the grounds, set lines of 3 bodies of 1, 3 bodies of 6, and 3 bodies of 9. Okay, set position of 3, set position of 6 over 9 lines of sequence. Sets lines of travel, direct lines of grounds, and set position line of operation lines of settings. So 803 now, right? 8 signature lines of 8. Process of signature lines of grounds. High course centers 0, operation line sequence location of grounds. Process indicates lines of 3 over setting into flux over screen over grounds as they travel. Now that's all indicates in system, the 13 ground communication as human residence, the process communication to its higher self and travel. But 3 bodies in 1. Okay? 3 signatures of face recognitions and settings in 1, guys. 3 face recognitions of bodies in 1. Okay, your grounds, powers, and adversaries. Your higher self, your avatar, and your symbiote. Okay, platforms over 1, ground centers of 2, platforms of 3, ground lines of 4, ground lines of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Applied to visual location system, all through attractions, all through locations, right? But try to understand how to go through that is aligning the communication to its convergence that puts everything into patterns behavior, process that indicates and setting through strategy. Pattern recognition of light metaphor that puts all communication coloration lines of space and time. But you have to understand the three body waves, body 1, body 2, and body 3. It's much easier to go to the locations, how you see that in transitions. Body 1, body 2, body 3, right? So the body is a position lines equal lines of alpha. Body 2, position lines is all communication setting. Process lines set travels in position lines of beta. Says course centers calculus lines is set point lines of 0, 1. So once you get your letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, you truly understand how to break it down. Remember, I get position lines of T, R, Y. Understand that. Communications of T, R, Y, which is the grounds, the powers, and atmospheres, which is your metaphysical system, which is your avatar system, and which is your symbiote. Put that together, there's an XD1000. Boom, done. Okay? Now it puts lines in position at triangulation flux over lines into 144 setting. Process indicates lines of 0. Process indicates lines of 0. Sets line operation line equal lines equation, lines of 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, back to 0. Or back to 0, 1, or back to 0, 2, or back to 0, 3, or back to 0, 5, back to setting. So when direct and redirect. But how you see back is the balance, the awareness of consciousness of your knowledge. Back. In convergent system, all through tractions. So it's not going back, it's just codifying going forward. So everything you say back is always forward. Everything you say forward is always back. But back is always line communication, how you codify your own system through your own algorithms, your own binaries, your own track communication setting into your binary settings, all through pyramid, all through streamlines adaptations. Okay, so we got 3 signature lines of grounds. And I'll show you it first. You don't see it, you see it through the ceiling, but now you see it through the ground set position. Right? Signal lines of 1, process lines that indicate over travel, and direct lines of grounds of communication. Bring it in set position of center operation line sequence, platforms 1, 2, 6, 8, and 12 set travel. Directing ground setting line connection setting all set position. Process the platforms, directing lines 0 and 1, process lines 0, 6, 0, 8, and 0, 12 in platform communication. Directing ground centers, operation line sequence, platforms over line centers, platitude location setting, online center and sequence location of pattern. Process indication system all through pyramids and travel communication. Salt at direct lines and high centers of simulation grounds of communication. And set position locations into wire signatures, body 1, body 2, and body 3 in form. Gridding screen adaptations of flux over setting and traction. Process indication inside and travel communication. All through setting, all through operation. Right, through triangulations, everything in box frame. Process indications here, you're observing everything you've already done. Bring it up and set position. That's a lot of connection setting. Look what you created just by observing everything that you already set positions of. All right, so let's say you get in position of voice line pattern. That's an alpha channel wave. The process lines of delta wave, the theta, omega, zeta, zeta, gamma, line connection, radiation line, course centers of travel in that line, operation lines of set position of coordinates. Delta heading, process calculation lines of tango, tango, foxtrot. That puts all communication lines in balance. Process indication system, all the attractions. Different coloration line, connection setting into high position observation lines. Signature lines of 1. Process lines that location setting comes into your avatar. Okay? Set calculation setting your symbiote. Set position over here. Setting position online signal location setting to travel. But it's all modified in that position location system. The hall line centers the process in positions back in observation. You are observing everything you've already done. Seeing yourself, locations of body 1, body 2, and body 3 in form, all through observation. And you're looking at signals and set lines the intel, the process indication system, which is the 5 elements of space and time. Understanding that and line communication its intelligence formates the ground set lines of sequence location system all through travel. Okay, so that's you through observation, bringing yourself and set lines of simulation. Says communication lines of grounds and high lines of sequence in position of 1 over 2 over 3 over tractions. Directing ground set as a sequence in platforms over lines, body 1, body 2, and set lines of travel. Okay, all through observation. Now, you have to truly understand how to get into that position lines of setting. Process of its indication. And again, it's in set position to its earth, how you formate the system all through travel. You're always working with the earth because you're on your earth. You are the earth. And how you bring that positions, and you bring in the country lines, Directing this way, and we're aligned this way, in this position this way. All through tractions, all locations, the Earth line, circulation, rotation. The Earth itself. Okay, and then you can see a triangulation flux, process indications over lines. Zero gravity 1, offline signals. How you use your imagination? Know exactly what you're doing through track locations, inside travel. Okay, and then you bring it in set position, all through setting. Okay, changing up formation lines and grounds in that settings. You can set another platform in that positions, but you're always working with the grounds, powers, and atmospheres and different frequencies. Now understand how to use your light metaphors is understanding 3 box frames, overlapping sequence, location, system, and tractions. Set position of A tone, set positions of B tone, set position lines of A tone, set positions of D tone, set chorus centers of G tone, chorus lines of H tone, high chorus centers of T tone, high position lines of F tone. It's travel. Okay, so that's position lines of body 1, body 2, body 1, body 2, body 3. Okay, set lines of 3 circuits and 3 bodies in one sequence and line conditions headed to XC1000. See the 3 configuration setting, process 1, 2, and 3 body forms. So metric meters and scale, process communication setting, and moderation system all through monitoring. So in that position, that's 3 intelligence, moderated system to an XC1000s in frame. Okay, because everything's created through its image, through its minds. So once you stand in position, you can see it at all different angles and traction. Okay, very powerful stuff, guys. Very, very powerful stuff. Okay. Now, if we get a true understanding how this all works, then you understand how you're putting positions in acceleration line connection system. The void, the velocity, the volume, the vacuum, right? The process lines of indication settings are 1 over tractions, 1 over divisions of 3 set travel, right? So that's position location in body 1, body 2, and body 3. All different lines of frequencies. Okay? Frequency 1, right? Body 2, and body 3. 3 different frequencies of travel. Now, understand the graph of communication setting in time zone through your sun. There's your sun. Graphing communication lines of wires, communication setting, barcode rates and timeline, sign line, center line, connection, configuration systems, all through time measurement scale. Process indication system, all settings, and position your wavings. Set position alpha, delta, and theta communication. Okay, that's a lot of graph communication and settings all through frequency tone. Sets chorus centers, triangulation lines over 1, process lines of 2 over tractions to a pyramid. Directing ground centers of service, location setting, applied through location system all through travel. High centers, high signals, high grounds, in line communication setting, and road grass screen location system and travel. And centers in location system, all through configuration. Okay? All through setting, all through traction. Okay? Very powerful stuff, guys. So the more you connect with your bodies, the more you stand in the connection to the avatar. Okay, you just have to try to understand how to use 13, how to use 15, and how to use 20. So you got the grounds of panels, you got the centers of panels, and you got the operation of panels. How you see the 20 lines of symbiotes and 2 tractions. How you see 15 line core centers of downtrack core centers of power lines, and 13 line connection setting, which is the balance of communication alpha beta. Okay, so different line signals, different frequencies, different tone, different communication, different schematics, different drawings, different travels, different operation lines into all position locations in primer circuits. Signature lines of 1, cross those over 0, process lines of 2, signature lines of ground setting and sequence. Says calculation lines of 1 grounds, 2 panels, operation lines of 5 channels of operation line rotations half pipe, setting circuits, and location system all through traction. Now it gets more complicated when you understand the conversion system all through setting, all through operation. Directing lines of 13 grounds, which is your higher self, platforms over lines, embedded over lines, enabled, and 4-line sequence in ground centers of surface and travel. Okay, so it's very powerful, and you are in position on the settings on the simulation board of its game location system in body 1, body 2, and body 3 all at once. All through conversion. Then you see course centers, line settings in position. You see next 1000 come out at 13 measures, scales, position, processing. Direct lines 1/8, 1/6, 1/5, 1 line, 1 traction, 1 division, 1 locations. Process indicate lines, out signals, location setting, out through square root, and through triangulation. Very powerful stuff in travel. Okay? So it gets more complicated the more you get into your body frames of 3 frequencies in 1 setting, 1 traction, 1 division, 1 location, 1 setting. And that communication setting and that convergence system of the traction. Okay? But you're constantly in that position of 3 body forms in 1 all the time, seconds, minutes, and hours. Now, how you change the metric meters is how you change the location system on gridding. 3 platforms in 1 centers. Let's get an alpha tone, process lines of B factors, over line signatures of 3 grounds of settings. That's lines of 4. Half pipe over line set, of course, set as a calculation setting. Process lines that calculate line screen adaptation setting to another 4 and set travel. As direct line connection setting, process line indicates offline centers and location system. Configuration lines at A, process lines at B over 1, process lines at B over 2. Now that's body 1, body 2, but it's body over. That's overline sequence into body 3, which is center operation of the symbiote, the process communication of its portal of communication system, all through traction. Very powerful stuff through travel, guys. So it indicates all communication setting all through flux and all different angles of travel. All right. So anything over pi, your conversion system changes the frequency lines of grounds. Sets lines of alpha tones, delta, theta, operates line sequence of clock and line condition set at face facades, and rotation lines of surface and travel. Asgard. Sets communication high centers of travel, direct lines of link, process communication setting all through travel, and that communication is convergence. Now, in that position locations, as you guys are speaking, you're going through 5 wire signatures. Okay, 3, 4, 5 that are in their own lane. The process lines indicates the sending of grounds of space, the void, a travel. Set security lines. Red can be anything in setting, but I'm just showing you security lines of balance to set travel. And then you get positions of cloak and dagger, and set locations of outer space itself. You can't see it, but it's an override setting, location system that processes communications and all through tractions. Now bring in the blue line and set position to its operation. That's what you work with 3 wires in 1, right? Now, when you put that together, you see the waving screen's adaptation setting to your TV receptor, how it opens all signal location system attractions. Now, directing lines of space line is an operates line that void itself that rotates the systems all through settings. This is where it really gets tricky with your line condition setting, your traffic, your inventories, as the zeros, ones come in set position to its operation. And 4 signals and ground system attractions. Okay, that's where the zeros come in. Now, indicate cross line has a direct lines of panel that process lines of indicates setting over travel. In that communications over lines, 0 can rotate its system and online signal location of time jump. Directing lines of panels. This is all direct location setting to a TV receptor. Process indication lines in flux over screen and direct lines of length that process communication system all through tractions of angles. In that indication lines of flux, process line indicate location setting, 3 lines of measure, 4 lines of scales. Sets calculation of ground centers and sequence location setting of platforms. Platform over line centers, process line indicates over flux over line over cross location grid. Directing ground centers line sequence, process lines indication system of portal communication setting at 3 levels of channels operation sequence location system. And calculations. Now, it gets more complicated when you put yourself in travel. So that's body formations of 1, which is your metaphysical line. That's in the atmosphere line, stratosphere locations of biosphere, 3 signal line condition setting and configuration system all through travel. Sets calculation lines, weaving line screens, adaptations of flux over screen adaptations of travel communications. Now I have a direct line link, process line conditions of body 2, override signals and location set, out round line condition setting, dimensional sail that rotates the system and divergence location setting, the 3 triangulations of flux location setting, and high position location circulation rotation and travel endpoint communication oscillation line condition oscillators into your solar system and calculation. So all that comes in the convergence system, all through tractions, all through locations. Okay, very powerful stuff. And this is what you can do through the 3 body frames, all through convergence. Okay, and you can see it, always have a grid, always need a grid. So the grid lines is 13 tractions, 13 line position, 14 lines, the avatar line conditions at all levels. Once you extend position of numbers, letters, shapes, and symbols, it's breaking these things down through pi. And you do that through configured system, all through tractions, all through locations, all through settings, all through operation. expanding the line screen adaptation, longitude, and latitudes, and all through calculation. Okay. And see, this is an open window frame. Very powerful on the simulation board inside travel. Same with that in system, you can see another pyramid inside travel. Okay, which is a sailboat in its water sequence location setting and calculations. And this is all convergence, how you see things through a TV receptor when it's off, not when it's on. So I'm showing you all ways and forms how you guys see this in provisions, the 3 body frames in one and frequency lines and grounds. How it sets all communications setting to surface and travel. Now, indicating flux is a wall sequence lines a panel that processes and indicates the system altered tractions. Now we understand how to use that in line condition setting and operation lines of sequence. Now we come into T receptor lines, indicates settings of box frame, 3 triangulations of 4 line centers in set position. All right, so that's body 1, and body is 2 is the center. Body 3 is over here, and we have body 3 outline signal, and we have another outline body line communication. So we understand how to use anything in signature lines of grounds and high lines of sequence and location setting. Process lines of wire line signatures is line connection setting and service, and 3 grounds of set travel. Okay? But you need a location grid so the avatar can go through. Okay? And you need a portal so the portal can go through its system, all through travel and track locations. Okay? So set position triangulation lines of 1. Then you can bring in a Stargate. Stargate line screens, bending space through 3 body frames and 1 signal, 1 grounds, 1 surface, 1 tractions. There's a Stargate. Then you modify the circular line defense lines and screen adaptations of flux over line and screen adaptation. Process indication line centers. In that communication setting, see its convergence system, all through tractions, all through division. Location ground calculation lines, open line signals, echo, sonar, and flux locations of 3 body frames in 1. Ground centers line sequence location, crossing angles, line communication setting, convergence system, all through satellites and communication setting, modification line ground calculations of solar panels, solar traction, solar division locations, solar net communication setting, and Skynet line communication high formation system, all through travel. Okay, and that convergence system, all through setting, all through operation, all through travel and calculation. Okay. So it converts its system all through calculations and direction all at once. So I'm just showing you when you get your 3 body frames and frequency, you get to understand how this all works in panel. Then you online the signals and you coordinate the system location, longitude, latitude. The process communicates the setting of bandwidth over screen. That indicates settings into black holes and sequence line ground centers and location setting, and portal communicates setting to its interference location setting. The intercharges location interlink. Inner line centers, longitude, latitude. That process communicates the system all through travel. Very powerful stuff in set positions. All through convergence, all through calculation. Okay, how it comes out, different line centers, locations. But you're constantly using your 3 bodies in 1 in frequency. Now, if we get a true understand how this all works, then we can truly understand how to use the application systems all through setting. You have a center op, operation op, a center communication op, high core centers op, line direct lines op. Everything you need communication lines is pi, and direct lines of center operation lines of sequence, puts position location, how you see line screen adaptations through pi, and line condition sonar or echo screen location. Process indication lines of settings, indicates systems all through travel. Parameters over lines, 0 lines of travel, process lines of 2 over 3, and measure of 4, and set lines of signal location setting. Indicates systems all through tractions in your pyramid of travel. Okay? And you come in your grids in set position. Okay? And then your longitude, latitude, and your portal communication going this way in set position to its operation sequence. Ground centers, operation lines of platforms over line centers, timeline sequence, and location setting of space. Process indications over line centers, rotates the system, line condition setting to Earth, rotation centers that operates the location system all through traction. So there's so many ways to identify yourself of face recognition as a body. Okay, body 1, body 2, and body 3. Okay, so look, here's the body, there's the body, and there's the body. Okay, there's the body of the grounds, there's the bodies of powers, and there's the bodies of the sim. and set tractions, right? Now, understanding how this all works in line screen adaptations, we have to understand the position of its ceiling in rotation setting tractions. Our body has its own convergence system of its own grounds, all different angles, all line communications of flux. That process that indicates the system what it's doing through seconds, minutes, hours, and frame. In set position, its operation. Okay? 3 bodies again, right? So you do it on all different angles. And again, right? Go coordinate the communication setting all through travel, point lines of graph, set lines of 0, process lines of 0, process lines of 0, set position locations. Here they are again in 3 lines of communication. 3 bodies again. All different angles all at once, right? So processing that is knowing exactly how to communicate to all that in that position location settings, full figure a configuration system all through travel. Body frame 1, body frame 2, and body frame 3 in positional location voicing patterns that process our communication setting all through tractions. Okay? So you're always working with 3 body frames of frequencies, all in setting, all through operation, all at once. Then lying down. Okay? In that position, the locations. Upside down. Set location setting, right side up. Okay? So it's very powerful how we direct ourselves and our frequencies, how we communicate to all in travel communication. Okay? Into their metabeds. Okay? Your body's in a metabed, your avatar's in a metabed, and your symbiote is in a metabed, all at once. Now, once you understand that, then you understand you are the observation of your intel that processes everything you're doing already existing all at once. You're observing everything you're doing in set positions, all through tractions, all locations. Okay? The observation. So that's 3 indications of flux over line, 2 track centers, line conditions of V factors over line rotations into 1 line signal, 1 ground, 1 surface, 1 travel. That puts all communication setting and travel communications in your settings in your body frame 1, 2, and 3. All through travel, all through recognition. Okay? Very, very powerful stuff in set positions. How they all work together in set lines. Moderation settings, space modulation system, flight manifest, manifold, line direct extent, location setting, and travel. That communication is convergence system is 3 voices in 1. Process of 1, process of 2, process of 3. Right? But this is you observing everything you already see, which is already done. It's observation locations you come in traffication your systems, guys. So it's convergence in 1 phase, 3 recursive time frames, location in 1 setting, yin and yang. Comes in line condition setting to its intelligent formations. It's intelligence. That's who you are in configured system and travel. Just you, dealing with you, but you understand your bodies. 3 configuration setting of tone, 3 convenient high center locations of windows and frame, 3 direct lines of grounds, window frames over tractions, sending on lines 2 centers, and 3 line communication setting convergence. Right? Connecting the body lines into the triangulation flux over 3 line setting locations. Body communication interference, body communication lines of grounds, and calculation setting. Okay, 2 panels of all line screens inside travel. Simulation system, line condition system, and travel communications. Right? So you're always in observation, looking at everything you've already done. Your presence of everything in position. Okay? But you connect to the body 1, connect to the body 2, and connect to the body 3 all at once. Traveling in all directions all at once, right? So if we get a true understanding how you come into your thoughts now, your thoughts are in 3 times fold, 3 times scale, 3 time measure, and 3 time balance. All this correlates to setting. Time sequence sets of panels, part of acceleration lines of screen adaptations of flux, sets lines of seconds, minutes, and hours in frame. So each thought is now 3 provision lines of cycles to 3 settings. That's 1 thought in set position. It process lines of body 1, body 2, and body 3. Travel point lines of graph, in communication setting, process and position location system, all through travel through next 8,000. Okay? So your mind line, your configuration system, your cells, modification grounds, your regeneration system, your reconfiguration systems, your remodification setting, your retriangulation interface is process communication of fast line 4 now. Process line indication lines of graphs, 4 signal lines of ground, communication setting, configuration lines of X lines of 1, Process lines is 0. It's like tic-tac-toe. 0, 1 over frequency. Process lines of body 1. Process lines of body 2. And center operation of body 3. Says communication of grounds. Position lines of power. XC1000 platform. XC1000 flipping line. Screen adaptations of traction. Directing ground centers online sequence over cross-line connection setting configures the system going through 3 grounds of surface and travel balance. Directing ground centers offline signal, process line indication over cross location system, balance communications back and track location. Okay? But you're always going to see 3 body frames in one cycle, all through setting, all through operation settings. 3 alpha tones, 3 beta tones, 3 signatures of L, 3 signatures of M, 3 signatures of O, 3 signatures of P, 3 letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, 3 of everything. All through your flux, all through your anomalies, and line condition setting, through 3 forks, and line screen adaptation. All right, so we process line connections of the thumb, process indication line condition setting to your pinky. Okay, there it is. There's your intelligence, right there. Boom. Signature lines of center, process lines position to record centers your avatar, and position your symbiote. Okay, wires of line condition setting over cross line condition setting convergence system through 0, 0, 0 process calculation. So now you understand what the intel is inside travel and how to use it through 3 body frames in one setting. Inside travel. And that direct locations to its palm and its indication setting. Travels indication lines in high position. Now, the circuit line condition setting is this barcode at framing position of brackets over screen. Communicates the ground centers and platforms over line signals. It crosses line signals and line connection setting to its window frame of travel. Directing core center looks like a camera because it is. So it's got 3 bedding line screens, 3 signatures, and 3 ground surface. Process lines indicate the line connection setting all through 1, 2, and 3 line positions of 4 settings of communications. 3 over 4. Signals lines of grounds. Look what your hand comes into information sitting, a teleportation vehicle. Process lines of platforms over 1, process lines of 2, 6, 8, and 12, and signature lines of ground. So it's that sequence. And indicate lines of flux over line and rotation setting and travel. In that communication setting and travel communication. And it's all through your hand. Now indicate ground centers. We process the flux line that operates the signal locations of a system. We cross the angles and line condition setting is 7 travel communications. Now, directing ground centers in highline sequence, we allocate time frame that process lines of platforms over line centers. It indicates position of 4 lines of flux over screen. Process indicates line calculation setting. We cross lines of angles, platforms over line connection setting to your pyramid rotation setting to your platforms. The process indicates setting hieroglyphics and travel communication of its graph. Process in that line connection setting crossing angles, line communication setting, and its convergence system of the attractions. There's your hand. Okay? So that's what your hand is. It's a simulation graph. And I process that through a window frame, and that communications to its box frame and travel. Okay, very complicated stuff. What you're saying, what your hand is, the 3 signals, 3 body frames in set position, 1 operation set tractions. So in that convergence system, your hand comes in full cycle and position all through tractions. Okay, so your outer sync, which is your outer ring, outer calculation line, your sync out of mind, which is your symbiote, process indications over here. And all you're doing in position is bringing in tractions into your finger points and set lines of operation line signals in location system all through travel. Process indicates in setting and in set positions. There's your hand information. Booyah! Now, are you mind blown now? How your convergence of your hand comes into simulation grounds and set position of its powers, there's atmospheres in 3 body frames in 1. How each finger has its own process of its own communication of its own concept, its own awareness, location of its own operation set position that's connected to intel and set position lines of travel. And again, you are in observation looking at everything that you've already done. Oh yeah. I don't think it gets any more powerful than that set of travel locations. But look at your hand. There's your hand. And that's what your hand processes. And once you understand that, they understand the signature lines. The planets go around the finger, above the finger rotation and travel. And set calculations. Okay? So it's very powerful what your hand really is. Understand it through a simulation graph and set positional laws, 3 body frames at once, 3 circular core centers, and configuration system all through travel, all through direction, all through operation. Directing lines, calculation lines of 7 plasma walls, 7 screens, 7 tracks, and 7 location system of the calculation setting to 7777. Sets communication setting and location setting to your finger line communication setting, all through point graph communications, a 3 body form releasing lines of 1 line connection setting, all frequencies on the travel core center line communications hand. Now you know what your hand is and how you see it in information setting all through travel. Okay? Booyah. Okay, now understanding this is understanding window frames. Then you bring it in color. But let's just outline the signals so you get a true understanding what your hand really is. It's invisible. It's not here or there, but everywhere all at once. It's set position to its calculation setting. Okay, there's your hand. So what is your hand? And what are the planets? Well, next line conditions all sign position with the tree of life. Process indicates lines, calculation setting over purple. Set lines of sequence, outline screen adaptation setting. Booyah, there's the tree. The tree of life. So what is your hand? The tree of life. Understand the configuration setting line, position of ground line, calculation lines, over line, setting line, communication over pi, process lines, indication setting, outline position, location measure, scales, communication of wires, signatures, go inside the hand line settings and all line position operation lines of setting, process indication system, all through cloak and dagger, directing ground lines and locations of red, signal lines of ground, communication of parameters, secure line, defense lines, screen adaptations of flux over line, travels endpoint lines, graph, communication setting, coloration system, all through rainbow. Directing grounds, orange line sequence, coming that, position location system, all through traction. Okay, so that's what your hand is, the tree of life. Sets calculation grounds, let's get into pink. Process indication setting of travel. Wires of signature lines of barcoding and rotation, set track communications. All right, so that's what it is. That's what you're looking at, the tree of life, which is your hand. Pretty amazing stuff when you see like that and set position its operation setting. How you set position your satellite in all directions. Sets tones, each planet line signals, ground center calculation lines, high position your alignments, line connection setting, line communication system, all the attractions. Directing ground centers, line calculation setting to planet 1 over 2 over 3 over 4, line conditions to 5 over track centers, line communication setting configuration. Directing ground centers to your solar system locations above the system. Booyah. Okay, so now you know exactly what your hand is. It's on its own rotation of its own set position, like puts all communications all together. Show you from signature lines of grounds how it comes in line communications heading to its cloak and dagger. All right, and then you just colorate the tree in. Bring in the branches, bring in the leaves and location. All through setting, all through operation. Okay, the tree of life. Booyah! Now you understand what your hand is. And while you're flashing this and doing this and going there and doing that, going that and doing this, understanding that, it's being all levels of unbeing understood. So 3 signature wires is 3 body frames. The metaphysical system, the avatar line connects the computer operates line direct location setting, your CPU location system to your simulated process calculation, symbiotic locations, symbiosis that puts all communication setting outer space location in the void, the process communications, all through attractions. Let's bring in green lines, online settings, all operation line sequence. Comes in position location of tree life, flower records of timelines, lotus line screen adaptations of travel, process indicates the system of its sets. There we go. Oh yeah, done by equation. And that's what it is. And that's how you use it through your hand. All right, very powerful stuff. And you see the face right there. Let's bring in the face right there. There's the face recognition, boom. Okay, face recognition right there in center. See, here's the eyes. Let's bring in the face. There's the face. Let's bring in the eyes. Let's bring in the nose. There's the face to the tree. There's the simulation of the grounds. All through setting, all through observation system. You're observing everything you already done. You're observing everything you already done. Okay, but you see the face now, recognition timeline. Process communication is how you see it convergence setting. 1, position of 2 over 3 interaction. Set position of 4 and position of 5 over trap locations. Process indicates lines of ground, centers of webbing line screens, 3 lines of signals, 3 lines of ground, 3 lines of setting, 3 operator lines of set trap locations. Bring it back in setting, there it is in position. Wires of signature. Operator lines of simulation. Okay? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I know it's complicated, but you get a true understand how this all works in provision, all through observation. Okay, guys? Done by equation. See you in 5.